First up, Lehigh Valley Tea Party. Thank you for the warm welcome last night. I talked to a huge number of you guys on the phone or online in some capacity with great frequency, but it's always nice to do it the old-fashioned way and actually get face to face with people. And it was great seeing a lot of folks that had become very close friends last night and actually beginning to spend some quality time. I will say that it took me till like 3 o'clock in the morning to get to sleep because of all the sugar in those brownies you guys force fed me. But I'd probably do it again. Anyway, thank you, Allentown. Thank you, Lehigh Valley. Thank you for everything you do. You guys were instrumental in getting the whole coalition off the ground to start with. And we tremendously appreciate that. And you guys remain just absolutely critical to everything that we're doing. Let's start with an update on the whole Al Schmidt saga, just to make sure that folks who maybe are not following everything moment by moment are clear on exactly where we are. So Al Schmidt, to recap very quickly, is the guy who gave us the 2020 elections in Philadelphia, who claims to be a Republican. Again, I do not have a blessed idea what that is supposed to mean anymore, but claims to be, but managed to denigrate the entire MAGA movement in terms of any concerns they had about the 2020 elections in Philadelphia, refused to investigate anything, including Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips. Very well documented evidence of large numbers of mules, maybe 1,000, running around Philadelphia, stuffing ballot boxes, stuffing drop boxes with ballots. Blew that off, didn't investigate, denigrated anybody who brought up a concern, ended up in a very public fight with Donald Trump, who we also denigrated, and then, of course, jumped up on stage with the Democratic governor, Wolf, to stand with him against the base of the Republican Party that was saying, when it really comes down to it, look, there's a lot of evidence here that says that's big time problems. Would you do your job and investigate? Okay, that's Al. So again, the last guy that you would want in charge of elections in Pennsylvania, particularly if you're a Republican, and that actually means something. He is, of course, now our Secretary of State, which means he's basically the chief election official for the state of Pennsylvania. And he is because he was confirmed by virtue of the process in a Republican-controlled Senate. So that Republican-controlled Senate had the capacity very easily to simply vote down his nomination and tell Shapiro, find us somebody who's not a joke. That's not what they did. So they put Al Schmidt in as Secretary of State. All right, so that's a done deal. Everybody who's responsible for that needs to be held accountable. I encourage you guys to do that. This thing with Schmidt is not happening in isolation. This is not a one-off thing. This is not a situation, not even a situation really where the establishment, and I mean the GOP establishment, has failed you. And I mean that in the sense that that's too kind a way to put it. Saying that they failed glosses over the essential and yet really, really distasteful truth, which is that not only is the establishment not acting to do the things you want them to do, but the establishment is actually working against you. Now, again, as I say all the time, as said last night in Allentown, I am not saying that every Republican who's holding office anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania is on the other side of these issues. There are a lot of allies out there, and everybody needs to be smart in identifying those allies and working with them and not just trashing everything. But it doesn't change the fact that the center of gravity, if you will, in the establishment is counter to what we want. And for a long time, they have been dragging their feet and refusing to do what we want. But I think what it smells like now is that they are taking affirmative action in advance of the 2024 elections, really to sort of wage war on the patriot movement, on the MAGA movement, whatever terminology you prefer. I mean, they are not just ignoring you. In fact, they're not ignoring you. They're focused on you, but the actions they're taking are not the actions you want them to take. They are actions designed to cripple your political power. So we just installed Al Schmidt, who's probably the last guy anybody in a patriot movement in Pennsylvania would want running elections. We just made him the guy who will run elections in 2024. Okay. Backdrop to this. Paul Ryan's out on television sometime in the last few days. Obviously, he's not in Congress anymore, but he's still a big figure in establishment GOP. And he's saying straight up, looking into the camera, that the nomination of Donald Trump in 2024 as a Republican candidate will be a disaster. So all he's saying, all he's doing is saying out loud what really the consensus is, if you will, in the establishment. It's not just a matter of not acting on behalf of what the Patriot, MAGA, America First movement wants. It is a matter of attempting to cripple the power of that, and really what they want to do is go back to pre-2016 politics. And they're not just wishing it, they're acting on it. Okay. Across the state of Pennsylvania now, we got an effort in lots of counties at this point. The most recent county I was looking at was Cumberland, but people are coming to me every day showing how if there's somebody on the county committee, GOP county committee, who has dared to act on behalf of support in any fashion a candidate who was not the official establishment endorsed candidate. I'm talking in the primary process. So in the process where theoretically it's supposed to be the members of the Republican Party who decide in an transparent way who their nominee is going to be, but the establishment position increasingly is we're going to endorse a candidate. That's our guy. And then, no, you are not free to then work on behalf of him or somebody else who's a challenger. If you don't get behind this person, we're going to throw you off the committee. And I'm not talking vague threats or discussions outside after the meeting. I'm talking official documents being filed, which would then typically result in a hearing, which obviously the results of that are preordained. A formal process to remove you from the committee because you had the audacity to believe that the primary process was supposed to be open and that was the mechanism. You get behind the establishment guy or get out. Happening all across the state, obviously a concerted effort, obviously not uncoordinated, and it is ongoing. Documents being filed. That amounts to an attempt to purge patriots, MAGA folks from the apparatus. At the same time that our push is to get control over that apparatus so it actually represents us, the party position is to throw you the heck out and push you out so you don't have control. We still have chatter in the background about legislation to open primaries, meaning that unaffiliated independent voters would be allowed to vote in the Republican primary. So the rationale for that, again, crystal clear, because there are plenty of people down in Harrisburg saying this. The rationale is to combat extremism in the primary process. If you don't have any idea who those extremists are, go find a mirror and look in it, because now you will have found one. In other words, the strength of the patriot movement in the primary process has become so great that the establishment is now considering importing into this party process people who are not part of the party, don't share your positions, don't share your views, don't think like you, don't agree with you. They are going to bring them into the primary process in order to counter the power of the Patriot movement. Not going to listen to you, not going to do what you told them you need them to do. They're just going to change the constituency and they're going to rig the game. Okay. So where does this, leave us? Where it leaves us is this. I mean, the solution to this is to stop asking this establishment edifice to do what you want and to take control of that edifice, right? To take control of the apparatus, from the school boards to the county committees, to the county commissioner, to the state legislature. That is the solution. And that's the entire focus of where the coalition is going on everything. It's not on, standing there hat in hand, asking somebody to please, if it's not too much trouble, do what we want. It's to replace those people who are fighting against us with folks who will actually listen to us and actually represent us. So real quick to close up here, a couple of events in this context that are really, really critical. Coming up this Sunday, Rally at the Rock, Bradford County, put on by Doug McClinko every year. It's Doug's property. I mean, he makes his property, his home, available for this thing. If you've never been, you need to be there, right? It is an amazing event. There's a lot of great folks there. It's incredible. This Sunday, Bradford County. I get it that's a drive for many of you, but you can find the information online. Rally at the Rock, Doug McClinko. Doug is one of the greatest patriots in the state of Pennsylvania and a tireless fighter for you guys. And this is an event you don't want to miss, with some incredible people there. The following Sunday down in Quakertown, the coalition is having an event, big event at a park right there in Quakertown. You can find all the information on this on the Facebook page for the Pennsylvania Patriot Coalition, or you can go to our website, PennsylvaniaPatriotCoalition.com. Find all the details on this. It starts at 1:00 in the afternoon at a wonderful park with a great amphitheater down there in Quakertown. A lot of people going to show up. The information online, if you want to come, you want to set up a booth, you go look at the information online, and it'll give you the point of contact to reach out to arrange to do that. We're having this event down in Quakertown, really on the doorstep of Philadelphia, for a reason, because amongst all the many things that are going on with the coalition, one of them is building a bigger tent. And that means reaching out to folks, not just talking to each other in the same little circles, but reaching out. And a big part of that outreach, which is headed up by Bill Allen, is to reach out to minority groups in Philadelphia. And thanks to Bill, some really, really tremendous success in that regard. In fact, an individual Pakistani gentleman who's running for controller in the city of Philadelphia will be one of the speakers that will get up on stage. And we wanted to have this an event in a location where it would be as easy as possible for folks from that Philadelphia area who maybe have never been to a Patriot event to show up, right? Because that's the name of the game: growing the coalition, reaching out, talking to people we haven't, not just staying static. We can't do that. We got to get bigger. The tent's got to get bigger. We got to get stronger. And there is no reason on earth why we should not be talking to these folks who share many of our values: the Black community, the Hispanic community, many of the Middle Eastern communities. I mean, you talk to these folks about the concept that they're going to pull your little boy aside and start explaining to him that he's really a girl trapped in a boy's body, and the solution is they need to start cutting him up. I will guarantee you that people in these communities are not excited about that and not on board with that kind of agenda. And that's just one example out of many. So I really look forward on the 16th to seeing everybody down Quakertown. I'll be emceeing the event. The featured speaker is Doug Mastriano thanks to him again for agreeing to do that. But we'll have a lot of other folks up on stage, including Tony Shute from Audit the Vote. All right. That's the update for now. I will talk to you guys again soon.